they still think of Oakland as this gathering place. And even though we may have festivals where people come to gather, our people are actually being pushed out. And I think that is the problem. So I yield with that.
You know, I think a part of it has to do with, a part of the solution has to do with our looking to ourselves as well as making a demand on the government. And I'm not, when I say making a demand on the government, that we are standing our ground as taxpayers. You know, we're not asking them for any favors or anything that we're not entitled to. I heard someone recently say, when white people have a problem, they get a policy. When we have a problem, we get an underfunded program. When we look at the information that you have provided, and begin to use that information to analyze the situation that we're in, analyze things that we have done in the past, and and that those things obviously have not worked. Otherwise, we would not be where we are at this point. What kind of changes do we have to make in order to, when we come together, in order to change the conditions under which we live? I think that there was, we have let me say this also. I don't use the term gentrification. I call it Anglicized cannibalization of neighborhoods. And so one of the things that I've been talking to people about here is, first of all, that the problem of displacement is a human rights violation. So that while there are limitations as to what can come out of the United Nations, the language that is present in the United Nations can also be used in the United States and deprive the United States of its hypocrisy and its effort to present itself as the gold standard, the global gold standard for human rights. So when we talk about how we're being displaced in the United States, then other countries and other people around the world know that language, and they understand that more so than they're going to understand gentrification. In fact, in South Africa and in other countries, you have the formation of the Union of the Landless, because people are being pushed off of the land all over the world for various reasons, to access the resources, to steal the land, to steal the resources, and then to force and to get free or nearly free labor. So that whole process, that criminal process of stolen land and stolen labor reverberates across the planet. So one of the things that I've been talking to people about here is that you do not have to accept the government's tax assessed value of your property. You have a right to a hearing. And you have a right to bring in your own experts to say, no, this property is not of such a value that I should have to pay $10,000 a year. Bring in our own appraisers. Our property is receives a high appraisal, an appraisal equivalent to that of whites for tax purposes, but for banking and lending purposes, they are substantially undervalued. So let's use the valuation that the banks use instead of the one that the tax assessor uses. Again, that goes back to evidence-based, data-based analysis and problem solving. Teaching, and we need that skill, teaching one another how to gather data, how to apply that data, how does the system work, which is one of our difficulties, or one of our challenges is that the majority of our people do not understand how the system works, number one. And those of us who do understand it too often are self-centered, self-focused, and betray their trust in us as those in the community having skills and resources and proximity to white power, because we don't really have any power. We may have some influence if we're considered to be lucky. So that the combination of teaching, critical thinking, data gathering, and also using the additional resources that are available to us to the extent that the system can be manipulated. As Audre Lorde said, you can't dismantle the slave master's house with the slave master's tools, but you certainly can slow them down. And taxes are based on appraisals. So let's use the appraisal that the bank uses to deny us loans and take that to the tax assessor. So that's one part of the other part of it is stop aspiring to be capitalists. You know, if somebody's got, in fact, I was telling the sister Teju earlier today, I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a bumper sticker printed and give it away that says, don't sell grandma's house and buy the lot next door while you're at it. And to change our mindset about what we can do, what our options actually are. And a part of that is creating options. The Black Panther Party created options, created a different mindset. It brings to mind the brother with the chair in Montgomery a couple weekends ago, right? So it's up to us to use, as Adam Clayton Powell would say, use what's in your hand, Black people, use what's in your hand. That may be a vote or it may be a chair.
Yes. Thank you, Mama Efia. And I do see someone that had their hand up, so I want to just see if Jamila wanted to still ask your question. Jamila, are you on mute?
Hey everyone, good evening. Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. My questions are actually pretty extensive, and I don't know if we have the time at this point to ask them, because I don't want to like go on and on and on. But good evening. Thank you for having this space. I'm really very, very honored to be here to listen to you all speak, and I'm learning a lot. And my name is Jamila. A little bit about me. I'm 22. I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm a new member of Black Lives for Peace. And so I'm just doing everything that I can to educate myself. So with that said, like, it's been a huge pleasure to listen to everyone speak. But my question, I have two questions actually. And my first question is, and this is to both speakers that we had today. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm a little bit distracted. I have my daughter, she's still up. But this is to both speakers today. Do you think it's possible, and would it be beneficial to successfully decentralize a revolutionary movement so that there is no one leader in order to avoid creating the scapegoats that become the targets of political movements? And not only scapegoats, but also essentially the fuel. So, like when MLK was assassinated, that movement kind of, it wasn't, stopped by any measures, but it really, impacted everything because it was so, hyper focused on him being the leader of that movement. So yeah, that's my first question.
That's good. Go with the second one and then we'll let us both address them at the same time in the interest of time.
Okay, of course, absolutely. So my second question was to you, Mama Efia, and you had mentioned a term, the cabal, which I found to be, quite fitting. And that's something that I've been really thinking about a lot lately, is just kind of, the shadow operations that are happening above any and all governmental functioning and, bureaucracy and all of that. So my question is, how do we identify the individuals who are in those positions, and how do we shift our approach, when it comes to executing revolution in order to level the playing field and reflect this reality that we're no longer, just dealing with the government, or it's not possible to address these things through the existing bureaucratic infrastructure, you know what I mean? So yeah, how do we expect to find revolutionary success within the paradigm of the US government, basically? And while knowing that these other paradigms exist.
Well, I'll go ahead and answer first, just because I believe that most of these questions probably are better suited for Mama Efia. But the first question, in terms of decentralized power or decentralized leadership, I definitely agree with that. I believe that every person that can pick up whatever they can to be a part and make a difference. So like in my case, I, have had this opportunity to learn data, to analyze data, to use technology. So I use that to help to move the struggle in whatever way or capacity that I can. I think as long as we start to explain to our entire community to do what you can, and at least that helps us move forward, I think that will be helpful. And I think it will also take away this idea of, kind of cutting off the head of the snake so that everything else falls.
Right, yeah. I think you have the answer or as legitimate a response as I'm likely to come up with. And I think that you said essentially what my thinking is, and that is as to both the centralization of power and the identification of the shot callers is to engage in critical thinking so that we are focused on principles rather than personalities. So if we have more of us have the skills that you shared this evening, and we use them in our daily lives, specifically, and in our political life more generally, then we the probability of success is significantly increased. There's a book, there are two books that came to my mind. One is a new book. It's called The Devil You Know. And the name of the author escapes me. I'll get it in a minute. The Devil You Know is one, and the concept goes to us coming together and using data, evidence, and technology to formulate a strategy that serves the total Black community. It's similar to the Republic of New Africa. And the call is that we all come back to the South, where still the majority of us live, and where we have the majority of our resources, whether that's in human capital or material capital. The second book is a book entitled The Starfish and the Spider: Why Al-Qaeda Will Never Be Defeated. Now, the starfish is self-regenerative because it's based on theory. It's based on principles. It's not dependent on a single individual. It's a circular process. The spider, on the other hand, operates on a vertical, hierarchical process. And therefore, if you break the leg, take just one of the legs of the spider is crippled. And you can demobilize the spider as a result of its structure and process, its ability to move and mobilize. So the point that Maisha made with regard to data, research, technology, is the operational definition of what I call commitment to principles rather than personalities. In the Starfish and the Spider book, the authors point out that the last Native American indigenous group of people to be captured were the Apaches. And the reason that the Apaches were the last to be conquered is because the Apaches had decentralized power. They had a process where everybody knew whatever it was that needed to be known in order to move the group, not the individual, forward. So that if one person was taken out, it's like the story of the geese. If one falls out, then the other, the V formation, then somebody else could move up and take that leadership position. Leadership being defined based on who sees the question, has the answer, and can implement it given the circumstances under which the group is functioning at a given time. So that doesn't have anything to do with age. It doesn't have anything to do with gender. It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the capacity to solve the problems in the best interest of the people. And to the extent that we can move to that point, that we can in fact be in practice being Black and proud, is the extent to which we will be able to fulfill that mission. And we should also understand that it's not everybody. Everybody is not into being a leader. Everybody isn't into being a bomb thrower, as you pointed out, Maisha. And the truth of the matter is scientifically, we know that we only need 3 to 4% of the population to be engaged in order to make structural change. So being more scientific in our approach. Also, women. We have to recognize the fact that we are a matriarchal people. I don't care whose feelings gets hurt about that. You know, and the fact of the matter is we are matriarchal, and if we're going to survive, it's going to be the mothers of the nation that is going to save us. As Malcolm used to say, a nation can rise no higher than its women. It can not survive any longer than the women. Yes, we don't all need to fight, but yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wow, thank you. This is amazing. I do want to say also, Fia, you mentioned it a couple times, but we were talking today, in case anyone remembers, at the LandCorps about the ISIS paper, and the chapter that MaMA Efia just quoted was that Black woman moving towards the 21st century, page 283. So MaMA Efia, you just quoted us on something that we were just talking about, because we wanted to let our brother Reddy, who's here with us, and Justice, who's two of the men that are with us, but what Rose has been for the woman and what we need to do to get this moment right, because of those statistics that you mentioned and Maisha's mentioning. So we are very grateful. This has been very full. It is 7:30, but there is one thing that we wanted to bring groundswell. We want to invite you all in to get the videos. Go to the YouTube, come on our Facebook or Instagram. But right now we have someone that's going to give us some piece of a song to remind us to always center the beauty of what this moment means in the work we have to do. And so I will have at this moment, without further ado, if you can open up your camera, Miss Johnette Newton, who's going to play a song for us. Oh, is that you right there, Miss Johnette? Go ahead, whenever you're ready. And Miss Johnette, yes, you. Can we hear her? We pray. gonna stand true to our God, true to our name. Yes, Ashe, your fists
Yeah.
up, everyone. What we say to end in solidarity with the fist of resistance. You can lift your hands up so we can see you. And please say after me, it is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our
It is
duty
our
to
duty
fight
to
for
fight for
freedom.
freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect each other.
We must love and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have
nothing to lose but our chains.
Asante Santa Maisha, and Mama Efia. Whoop, whoop.
Kitu.
Everyone say
Black
Asante
August
Santa.
salute. Black August
Black
salute.
August. And remember Black August for the rest of the month. And we welcome both of you back. Mama Efia, I'm going to contact you. Maisha, we'll hopefully have you bring some statistics for the Oakland when we return. And please remember during this month to not only to get involved with the political education like we're doing, if you're fasting, but also exercise together. And remember this movement, we have to carry it on for the ancestors they come from, and we also must free all political prisoners. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Much.
Ashe.
Ashe.